Yesterday I finished up the deer feeder stand project, which wasn't much of a project, a few hours. Today I'm going to start another project. A couple years ago I built a tandem bike for the kids, and it has got a lot of miles on it, but it was made with two of these little, were they 16-inch frames, 12-inch frames? And the kids have outgrown it. So I think I'm going to make a tandem out of two of these bikes, which are what, 24-inch wheels. And if I could, I'll put the little bike in the middle. Ooh, this thing's heavy. Like that. Bike number one is apart, the little bike. I don't know how much of this bike I'm going to use. Probably the handlebars, maybe the seat and the seat tube. I don't even know if I'm going to use that bottom bracket. The rest of it probably will go to the scrap iron. Next, volunteer. This one has a really strong looking front fork. This steel right here is twice as thick as that other bike. Yeah, so this is going to be the, let this be the front, and we'll whack it off here somewhere. But I do need to remove the wheels and the bottom bracket and the seat. Well, I need to remove everything but the front forks can stay. Never come across a bottom bracket like this before. It's just a straight tube. It had two sealed bearings, kind of a press fit, and a spacer in the middle. Pretty cool. This bearing's good. I messed this bearing up getting it out. I mean, it still feels good, but the seal's not right. So bearings are cheap. I'll get a new one. And yeah, so now what we need to do, what I'm going to do is cut the back half of this off. We're keeping the front half. It's a shame to cut up such a nice little bike, but I got too many. And donor bike number 3, I just need the back half, but I probably need the head tube to just to hold the handlebars in place. So, and I think this is the best set of wheels. It has a lot of spokes, more spokes, I guess. The more spokes, the stronger the wheel, unless they're just trying to fake it. Anyway, let's take this one apart. Okay, we got a front, we got a back, we got a middle. We're almost finished. Just need to make it go together and work. Okay, the construction has begun. I've got a rectangular tube that's nice and straight, so I can attach the bikes to it. I had to raise this this much to get the forks at the right angle, because if the forks are at the wrong angle to the ground, it's hard to steer. So the front's good and the back's okay, and I have almost enough room to get the little bitty bike in the middle, or parts of the little bitty bike in the middle. I'm gonna go ahead and move this all the way to the front to give me the extra couple inches, and then I need to grind all these welds, grind all this smooth. And my first weld will be just a straight pipe from here to here. I'll leave this alone for now, probably leave it forever. And the second one will be more complicated because it will have the seat tubes, the purple seat tube, and the purple handlebar tube up in here somewhere. A little more complicated, but the first one, it's just a matter of getting it done. Okay, I have moved this bike forward about 3 inches. I have removed all the steel and sanded it well. I got a piece of tubing. I got a pretty good fit front and back, and I've removed all the paint there. So I'm ready to weld. I'm going to try really, really hard to get a good weld. I'm not a good welder, but if I go really, really slow, I should get a pretty good weld. At least the parts I can get to. Later on, when the frame's finished, we can flip it around. So I'm always welding downhill. Whoa, it's still kind of hot. Okay, unfortunately, it is not the right diameter, it's a smaller diameter. So I'm going with the pink tube, I'm gonna weld it, and I'm just gonna go from there. That's what it's gonna be. So the pink tube is in place, and the seat tube goes all the way around to about here to keep everything lined up. Actually, it goes a lot further than that. So I'm gonna put a couple of tacks here and try not to weld through to the seat tube, pull the seat out, and then finish welding it. And if my weld is boogered up on the inside and won't let the seat tube go past it, that's okay. I can cut the seat tube shorter, because that'll be a long overlap for the seat tube. So let's get the welder cranked up and put a couple welds on there. I'm riving this scaffold tube because it's tubing and not water pipe, and because I hardly ever use this scaffolding. But if I ever do need to use it, I can just weld something in here, a piece of angle, a piece of square stock, a piece of water pipe. I'm not destroying the scaffolding. So how do you mark this? You got one shot. Once it's too short, it's too short. But I want this to go right here. So I'm gonna have a weird slopey, curvy fit on both ends. All right, well, I'll turn you back on in a little while. This may take some time to get this right. Hopefully we'll get it right. Okay, not terrible. I'm probably gonna put a little weld here and here and not weld it out, because I'm not sure how the seat and stuff's gonna work on top of it. And then eventually, I'll probably slice this with the grinder and put the torch on it, get it hot, and bend it tighter. The same with this one. This one's, yeah, it could be bent tighter, but it's amazing what a torch can do and get this stuff hot. So, put a little weld front and back. I need to put a weld on this because this is not supposed to turn anymore. So now what? You turn this blue thing around, and I lay the handlebars forward. So I just gained a little bit of real estate here by doing that. But the relationship between the grips and the seat's kind of the same. So now we got to fit this little baby in here some kind of way. I think it'll fit. So I think what I'm gonna do now is cut off the seat tube and drill this, and run the seat tube right through the yellow pipe, and that'll fix the seat. And then we'll look at the handlebars step 2. That's Harbor Freight smoke. That smoke came all the way from China. A little bit more. Got it. I got it. Even this little piece of a bracket that I hadn't cut off yet is going to help. It is leaning a little bit this way, so I'm gonna need to grind a little bit more on that far side. The hole saw got me started, but the little grinder here, it finished it off. I don't know why I can't clean this up and weld that seat tube here. At least tack it anyway. Put a little tack. Won't hurt. Keep on going. So for the middle handlebars, considered this piece, cutting this here and welding it onto this seat post, and then the handlebars fit in there. But I decided it would be better if I did this again. Cut just the inner part of the top part of the forks and drilled through and welded this part here, and then the handlebars will be adjustable a little bit. And I have my 16 inches that I need between the seat and the handlebars, so it should be comfortable as far as the length goes. I don't know about the pedals. Probably won't have pedals. Maybe just a footrest in the middle. All right, so let me drill another one of those god-awful holes through both top and bottom of the yellow tube, and slide this in there and weld it. All right, we've got a big decision here. I was thinking of just putting foot pegs for the middle one for the little person. I might put the cranks in there. Let's see, so the back crank, swung all the way forward, only reaches here, and we leave some more for a foot. It's going to be behind this clamp. And the front crank, it comes to here, this mark, and leaves some room for a foot. And it's probably here, so that just leaves buckets of room. So this little baby crank set, and it fits in the race. I got the race, so I put this. Oh, this is so thin. This is so thin. I put this in here, maybe like so. Fit this around the yellow pipe. Yeah, I don't know. Might try that. I need to cut this kind of loose from all this crap so I can see what I got. So I'm trying to recreate the geometry of the original little kid's pipe. And yeah, I spread the handlebars out some. But in the original bike, the crank was way up here. Which means that's for little people. I can lower a little bit. So we need to be in line with this seat tube. I don't know, maybe halfway down? I'm not sure how I would do this. I'm interested though. I'm not giving up yet. We'll figure out something. Okay, a little progress. I put this little piece in, and it's welded here. It's not welded here yet. And I got this cut pretty well. It's so thin. I got it marked where I need to get rid of the paint. And now I just need to cut one that goes right here. And it'll have opposite curves on it. Go cut one and start grinding, and I would like to get it tacked. Well, I don't know if I'll get it tacked today or not, but this is my last piece. All right, progress this morning. Put the yellow tube in. Put this vertical, got this seat, these handlebars, and I started welding everything together. I got this, even though this stuff's super thin, if I put most of the heat on the yellow pipe, which is a lot heavier, I can weld it. Just got to go a little bit at a time or it gets too hot. So I started welding everything up, complete. I'm not through. When I come back, I will weld everything that I can get from this angle and then take it down and turn it over and finish welding. And I guess I go ahead and paint. And then put the wheels on it. And then scratch my head on how we're gonna make the chain work. Because chains on these tandems are always a little bit of a challenge. But anyway, good progress today. So I snuck over to the foundry for a little bit. This is a Sunday. And my goal today is to finish welding and grinding. I got a little bit more I can get from this side. And then, well, a lot more. Then I can swing it around, get from the other side. And then I'm gonna take it off the little strong back and turn it over and get stuff from the bottom. And I have some epoxy fairing compound. I might go to the trouble of trying to make all the welds pretty, which is usually not my strong point. So my welds are all welded and the grinding is all grinded. And I think it's time to put the wheels on it and the cranks on it so I can figure out what I'm gonna do with the chain. I got an idea, but I'm not sure if it's gonna work. But I really don't need the front wheel, but it'll probably make it easier to handle. No, maybe not. I'm gonna turn it over and put the back wheel and the 3 cranks, and I got some new chain. Let's see what it'll do. Okay, I bought 3 pieces of chain from Amazon, strung them together, and this is what I got. Front sprocket's never a problem. This sprocket, if I just run it straight like this, it's only gonna catch a few teeth. This is gonna be a very small person, but it's gonna be probably have a tendency to fall off. This sprocket, even with gravity, it's not gonna have enough to make that work. So I'm gonna stretch the chain a little bit and I'm gonna pull it up right here with some sort of pulley. Now let's see what that looks like. Okay, I got a plan. I don't know whether it'll work, but I'm gonna go with it because it's not that hard to try. I made the chain a little longer. Well, I didn't make it longer. I got it tied with a string. If I get some sort of guide, push it right here Come on, sprocket. Push it right here. Then now the back sprocket has a fair amount of teeth. The one in the middle has a couple more, but how strong can this person be if they're only like 3.5 feet tall? And of course, the one in the front is going to be the strong person. It's got all the teeth. I think this will work. And this chain is really long. I'll probably put a guide in the middle just to keep it from sagging. It'll be on the other side though. Yeah, I'm gonna try that. Now this is gonna have to be pretty strong because this is gonna bear the horsepower of whoever's on these pedals right here. And even though it's probably a little person, these are long cranks, so this can't be sheet metal. This needs to be something fairly strong. I'll probably make it adjustable. Welcome to my new machine shop, new machine room. This was the ceramic shell room. I spent 3 days chipping the crap off the floor, painting the floor, and I moved my lathe and my drill press in here, and my machinist toolbox, which is kind of mixed up now. I got to straighten it all out. But this is nice because it has a dehumidifier, it's insulated, and it even has an AC I can turn on and better lighting. So it's the first of my little machine shop, and I would love to get a little mill one day just to play with. But I've got too many irons in the fire right now. But anyway, this is the bearing I'm going to use. It's the biggest one I have in diameter. I thought that would make it less clackety-clackety. This is a piece of aluminum, the right thickness, so I got to make a bushing for the middle to put a bolt through. So I'm going to drill I don't know, 5/16 hole for a 5/16 bolt, and then cut this out probably with the porta band and use my lathe, which I hardly ever use, and spin the outside to the right diameter to be like almost like a press fit inside that bearing. So it came yesterday for a couple hours. I finished welding. I put some epoxy body filler over on my welds that needs to be sanded. And I started on the idler for the chain. So I'm going with this bearing, and I have a piece of aluminum, and I was gradually turning it down to fit. It was really hot, so I didn't want to get a final measurement with it being that hot, so I'm going to finish it up this morning. Ooh. Almost cut too much. Okay, I think that's I think we have a good friction fit right there. Let me get it out of that chuck and see what we can do. Okay, so I really don't think this could have been done any better. It's kind of a friction fit. Tapped it in with a hammer, so now I have a hole on the inside that's small enough I can do something with. And I had this wheel hanging on the fence. It is totally rusted up. It won't turn either way. But I want that sprocket, and I want to put this sprocket on the outside of this bearing. And that thing threads off and on. I think it's a backwards thread. It's pretty rusty. I'm going to douse it with some oil and see if we can't get it apart. It's being a little stubborn, but I keep putting heat on it and then a little more oil, and I think eventually it's going to come off. Hey, like my chain wrench. Keeps it from turning. Well, I've been beating and heating on this thing for a while. I don't know if I'm getting anywhere or not. It seems like it's moving, but it's kind of hard to tell. So I'm going to take the grinder and cut some slits in this inner race, try to relieve some tension maybe, and then maybe it'll come. I don't know. It's coming, very slowly, but it's coming. I think the cutting the grooves might have helped a little bit. I don't know. But my hand's extra shaky this morning. So I'm having a hard time hitting that chisel, but I'm getting it. Well, I put the plasma torch on it and it just made a mess. It would cut part of it, but not part of it. And now nothing turned. So, all right, well, let's get the oxyacetylene torch and see if we can't mess it up some more. I want this ring. I don't really care about the wheel so much. Well, I kind of messed up the hub, but I got the wheel off with some pieces of metal in it. And when it cools off, I think I can get those out. Yeah, what a project, huh? That was almost an hour to get this little wheel. I should have started with a heavy artillery from the beginning, just cut all the spokes and I don't know. But anyway, I'm getting it. Well, I got it. Yeah, we don't need that part. But it fits almost perfectly. I'm gonna put it on the lathe, try to turn out the metal part a little bit. It's probably kind of hard metal, but I think if I go really, really slow, my little old antique lathe should cut it. We'll see. So I chucked the chain ring in the lathe and turned the inside just a little bitty bit. It was close to begin with, and until the bearing felt like it kind of might want to go in there, and that's when I stopped and bring it over here and heat it to expand it and beat the bearing in. And I had planned on putting a couple of little welds to keep it from moving, but I haven't, and I don't know if I will. I don't think it's going to move. There's no torque on this thing. It's just the force is pulling the chain wheel right into the center to the pivot point. So I don't know if it needs any more reinforcing. Oh, we have made us a sprocket. I'm going to put a little bit of weld on it. It doesn't transmit torque, but it needs to stay put. Okay, 2 plates tacked together, 2 holes. And now I'm going to connect the outside of the holes to make a slotted brace for the idler roller. Okay, the idler wheel is kind of tacked on. I don't have any steel down here yet, and I will put some, and I'll round all the corners and everything. But it is really, really hard to tell if it's in line with this sprocket. Really, really hard, surprisingly hard. So I'm going to go ahead and put the chain on and get it to the right length and put a master length in it. And this will be like a real test. And if it rolls okay without like catching, then I'll go ahead and finish welding this up. Weld a brace down here. Yeah, this is the loosest. This is the loose position, and I can always take up more slack from the chain by sliding it down. All right, let's do it. Well, I don't know. The dang thing seems like it might work. Smooth, it doesn't catch. Now I'm not putting much horsepower on here, so I don't know what the tendency is going to be for this to jump out. But this is definitely too loose up here. I needed something else right here. But this could be like one of those derailleur spring deals, because this is not under tension. It doesn't have coaster brakes, so nobody's ever going to be pulling back with tension. Yeah, that's pretty good, I think. So you can weld this up, clean it up, put some more steel on this part, because this is, and then go to the bike shop and see if they give me a derailleur, make it work here, and shoot, we're gonna be ready for paint before too long. Okay, so I do have an alignment problem with the idler sprocket, and I noticed it when I put the seat and the pedals on and went in the parking lot and tried to ride it around. The chain would jump off. I don't know if you can see it, but the chain is, or the sprocket is too far that way. It's not centered on the chain link, so I'm going to cut it and move it and tack it again and try it again. Yeah, and the front of this is out that way. The chains are not vertical with each other. It's just so hard to hold it in place to get that weld right, but we'll keep trying. Okay, I got a new plan. I welded this piece of scrap to the tube, kind of welded it, and then I clamped my little idler bracket to the bottom of that so it stays put. So now I can take the hammer, tap it around, because I don't have it clamped too tight, until I think it's straight, and then put some weld on it and go right around the parking lot and see if it's gonna do right. I cannot tell a lie. Well, that's a lie right there. But the truth is, this tested me. Then I cut this and welded it back on about 4 different times. It probably broke 2 more times besides that. and I would get it almost right, and then the clamp would come off and it would collapse, and then I'd have to bend it and the weld would break. But anyway, right now I think I have it pretty straight, although I can't go test it. You can't put horsepower on it until I get a bunch more weld, because it's going to break. So I'm going to put some weld on it, and I'm going to be in here grinding it off in a minute, but I think I got it. Yep. Chain stays on. It's pretty difficult to ride.
So I made a medium hard effort to get the frame sanded a little bit and wipe clean with MEK and put some spray paint on it.
So while I was spraying my frame this morning, I decided to make a change, and it's safety related. I'm concerned that the little person in the middle with these cranks, something's gonna happen to their feet. And the big cranks and the big kids, they're gonna get their foot in a bind or get it pinched or something. And before they know what's happening, they could do some damage to a little foot with these big long cranks. So for now, I'm just gonna use this to make some kind of footrest. And we have 2 little bitty grandkids, and when they get bigger, maybe I'll put the cranks back on. I'm not gonna cut them or damage them or anything. But for now, the chain is gonna come all the way and go through the little loop thing, and I think the chain will work fine just like it is. And I did find this morning, believe it or not, on my early morning bike ride, I found a bike thrown away. It looks like it's been underwater, but our neighborhood doesn't flood. But anyway, it's got the derailleur, and the spring on the derailleur works pretty good. I think with a little oil it would work, so I'm going to use the derailleur as a chain tensioning device on that. And other than that, the bike's pretty worthless. It is nice to have lightweight tube steel to make things out of, because mostly I just have water pipes. So yeah, we'll cut it up, keep the pieces, but what I really want right now is that derailleur. So foot pegs are going to be easy. This is the axle that came out of the wheel I destroyed to get the sprocket. And these are 2 little foot pegs that the kids like to screw onto the end of the axles like these. And it screws up just right. I'm just gonna have to make a plate washer to have something for them to tighten against. And I can make that out of aluminum, which is really easy to turn. So yeah, we'll have foot pegs on here really quick like.
So it turns out that one of the probably 4 hole saws I have here was the right size. I don't have to put it on the lathe or anything. I'm just cutting out the plug, the coupon, and I have to drill a hole in the middle a little bigger to fit that axle, that bicycle axle. But this was turned out to be easy schmeezy.
Perfect. Put the pipe wrench on there and make sure it's tight. That should be fine. Well, it's been a few days, but last time I was here, I got some paint on it. And you saw me put these on it, and then I put the cranks back on for real with actually put grease in them, which I hadn't seen in a long time. So let's put it together. Put the wheels on it. I'll put it on the ground. Let's hook up the brakes, put the rest of the seats and the handlebars on. And I think we're done. All I need after that is some test dummies. Okay, I made a little boo-boo here. I have this long slot for lots of adjustment, but when I welded this brace on top, I kind of limited my adjustment. So I'm gonna cut that off because I want to be able to slacken the chain a little bit before I make it up, and then I can tighten the chain with the slot. But right now I can't go down very much and I can't go up very much. I gotta have this derailleur to rig up some kind of way to take up tension in the chain. But you know what? I think at first I'm gonna try without the derailleur. I can always go back and use the derailleur. One problem I have is I cut the chain too short to add the derailleur, and I had more chain to add, but that's gonna make me short master link, and I hate to stop what I'm doing and drive across town to buy one master link. But yeah, I'm gonna try without the derailleur. I'm just gonna cut this so I can loosen it, make the connection, snug it back up, see what happens. All right, that worked easy schmeezy. And now with that roller slacked off a little bit, I can take another pair of links out of the chain. So I just need to take this rivet out right here and put it in the master link, and we should be good to pedal around the parking lot. Almost messed up. This is the female link. This is the female link. I need the male link to hook up to so I have to cut it here. So I've lost some of my tension. But if I put it there and lift it up, it gets kind of tight. Okay, I'll try that. If that doesn't work, they make a half link that goes from the female to the male, a half master link. I'll go get one of those at the bike shop. I guess they would have that. And if that doesn't work, I'll add more chain in and use that derailleur deal. Let me turn you off for a while so I can think better. Okay, I got a half a link, and it took me a while to kind of figure it out. But here's the deal. If you use a master link and you want to shorten the chain, you have to take off a pair of links, an inside link and an outside link. So you're going to end up being this much shorter. If you don't have that much to play with, you still have to cut the same amount off, but you add a half back in. So you end up just shortening it the distance of one link, not a pair of links. So I'm too long, I'm gonna cut it, and I'll have to add the half link back in, because if I take off a pair, it doesn't stretch that far. So let's get it. So here's an existing master link. I came back a pair. I'm gonna take all this stuff off. I ground the tips off, so it's gonna pop off with a screwdriver. I'm gonna put the half link back in, and I got my fingers crossed, so I'm not like 100% straight in my head, but I think this is the right way. By George, I think we have it. Let's hook up some brakes. So the little bike is put together with new hand grips and brakes, front and back. We got kids coming over this afternoon. We'll do a test run.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you, Ruby. What you doing in the middle? You ought to be on the back pedaling.
The back seat's too tall for him.
Hey, Ruby.
So Ruby and John came for a visit, and Ruby's a little small for riding in the front and taking control. She's not that strong of a rider yet. And John's almost too small for the middle seat. Might turn those handlebars around and make that middle section a little tighter. But yeah, we all did good. I'm anxious to see what Eliza and Molly will do on it, because they're both stronger, and I think they could take off by themselves when they come for a visit.